One of the most famous names in art history, Vincent van Gogh is renowned for his signature post-impressionist paintings. When the artist's name is mentioned, most think of the notorious story of him cutting off his own ear. Or perhaps, one might think of the swirling colors of his most famous pieces, such as Starry Night and Starry Night over the Rhone. As a whole, Van Gogh's collection of paintings encompass landscapes, everyday objects, and well-recognized portraits and self-portraits. Of these self-portraits, one in particular had an unusual journey amongst the hands of Nazis during World War II. Van Gogh's self-portrait, dedicated to Paul Gauguin, is a paramount piece because of its representation of Van Gogh's post-impressionist style, his innovative eye, and the piece's deeper psychological story. Van Gogh did not originally begin as an artist. His beginnings with paint began, according to the National Gallery of Art, after unsuccessful attempts at being an art dealer, a teacher, and a clergyman. Vincent, as he preferred to be called, was 27 at the time. Vincent's life was not a long one, as he died at the age of 37 after committing suicide in 1890. His last words were rumored to have been, "The sadness will never end." These words truly encompass the struggle that Vincent encountered throughout his life through tumultuous emotions, which can be seen through his different paintings, primarily his portraits. Still today, Van Gogh is considered to be one of the greatest and most influential post-impressionist painters. James Voorhees from the Metropolitan Museum of Art writes of post-impressionist artists, saying, "Through the use of simplified colors and definitive forms, their art was characterized by a renewed aesthetic sense as well as abstract tendencies." As Vincent's locations changed, his paintings evolved. Over the years, his pieces transitioned throughout various moods, color palettes, and subjects. One of the most renowned characteristics of his work was his use of pointillism and dramatic use of brushstroke to add depth and texture to his work. Additionally, the color yellow is weaved throughout most of his works. Some scholars attribute this to a medicine he took for his epilepsy, which could cause users to see yellow patches. Many also believe that Van Gogh suffered from lead poisoning as a result of chewing on dried paint chips while working. According to the Van Gogh Gallery, one of the symptoms of lead poisoning is swelling of the retinas, which can cause one to see light in circles like halos around objects. This can be seen in paintings like The Starry Night. As a struggling artist, forming relationships amongst fellow artists was an important ideal to Vincent. Van Gogh created a support system of post-impressionists, two of whom included Paul Gauguin and Émile Bernard. Frequently, the three wrote letters to one another, exchanged artistic critique, and painted pieces specifically for one another. Van Gogh's self-portrait dedicated to Paul Gauguin was one of the three self-portraits that the artists painted together of themselves. In this portrait, officially painted in 1888, there are numerous aspects which make the piece as striking as it is. Vincent used curving brushstrokes to create texture and structure, in addition to a selection and variation of pastel colors. Vincent writes, "It is all ashen gray against pale Veronese. The clothes are this brown coat with a blue border, but I have exaggerated the brown into purple and the width of the blue borders. The head is modeled in light colors painted in a thick impasto against the light background with hardly any shadows. Only I have made the eyes slightly slanting like the Japanese." Behind the technicalities, the trio of portraits contained a greater psychological exploration. During this time of poverty and uncertainty in the lives of the artist, each attempted to honestly capture a sense of melancholy throughout their works. In a letter to Theo, Vincent breaks down the emotion behind each of the pieces. He details how Gauguin's piece truly does depict him as a prisoner, as Jean Valjean from Les Miserables, and how it has not a shadow of gaiety, and how the flesh is in the shadows has gone a dismal blue. Seeming to prefer Bernard's painting, he describes it as the inner vision of a painter, a few abrupt tones, a few dark lines, but it has the distinction of a real Manet. He proudly also analyzes his own and states it as grave but less despairing compared to Gauguin's. He ends with, "I am very glad to have these two portraits, for they finally represent the comrades at this stage. They will not remain like that. They will come back to a more serene life. Through this portrait and the comparison to the other two, Van Gogh was able to capture a momentary snapshot of an emotional stage in the life of all three. Not only does the piece's quality make it unique, but also its unusual provenance. In 1897, Gauguin sold the painting for 300 francs to fund his own personal travel. As it left the hands of Gauguin, it circulated through different art dealers and moved to Berlin in 1906 and in 1919 to Munich in a gallery. In 1939, during World War II, as the Nazis took control, they began to weed out what they deemed to be degenerate art. Van Gogh's piece was certainly the epitome of this classification because of his trademark of post-impressionism. Along with countless other artists, Vincent's pieces were targeted and removed by the German government, and self-portrait dedicated to Paul Gauguin was auctioned off. It was not until 1951 that the painting resurfaced and returned to the public eye as it was rehomed to the Fogg Museum at Harvard, where it continues to reside today. As a whole, Vincent van Gogh's self-portrait dedicated to Paul Gauguin is more than simply a painting in an art museum. Indeed, it is one of Van Gogh's greatest works because of its complexity, detail, and technique. In addition, it carries the weight of a piece that defied the odds of survival. This portrait is a piece that carries on to represent the psychological struggle of an artist and the emotional release behind Van Gogh's works. This painting is only a singular but pivotal example of the importance of art in history and storytelling. As time carries on, it is the job of the people to remember the journey of this painting amongst the journeys of many others and the reasons why these pieces deserve to be remembered, why their creators, their inspirations, their meanings, and their eminent power deserve to live on. As Vincent van Gogh once said himself, "Art is something greater and higher than our own adroitness or accomplishments or knowledge." Thank you.